My name is Jade, owner and principal planner of Joyful Events by Jade, and this is The Cookie Table. This is a podcast all about love, marriage, relationships, and the wedding industry, wedding news. Perfect for anyone that is getting married, is married, a wedding vendor, or someone that just loves weddings. Grab your favorite cookie from the cookie table, pour yourself a glass of Chardonnay, and let's get into it. Anita with Half Light Events, thank you so much for joining the cookie table.
Thank you. I'm super excited.
You're a big peanut butter blossom fan.
Yes.
Third week in a row.
That's wild.
I know.
Usually when I tell people that peanut butter blossoms are my favorite, they just kind of look at me. But they're magical. So
they're really good. And I think Victoria and I were talking about last week how people don't realize that's the name of them, peanut butter blossoms.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, oh, it's the Hershey Kiss
the one
cookie.
With the Hershey Kiss.
Oh, and it is. They're peanut butter blossom. Thank you so much for joining me, Anita. So I'm putting it out there because we were all at a planner table and you shocked the shit out of all of us when you were like, so you're so polite and sweet. You're like, so my name's like Anita. And we're like, what? Because it's spelled Anita.
Yes. And that is sort of like... when I share my actual name, it's sort of like it's kind of like an internal milestone for me. Because I grew up in Pittsburgh and nobody ever said my name right. And I just sort of was like, at the end of high school, I was like, it's fine. Like, I'm not going to see these people. Yeah. And then when I went to college, I actually said my name correctly. And then, the rest of, and then I came back to Pittsburgh. And then again, I was like, you know what? I think that it's sort of like if I think I'm going to be in a space for a long time, then I'll take the time to actually say it. Otherwise, I don't. Mm-hmm. And that was sort of like a moment that I was like, I think I'm going to be around these people a lot. So maybe I should tell them how to actually say my name. So it's Anita. Anita.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did. I'm so sorry that I was one of the people that are like, hey, Anita. And she's just like, what the?
That is how I introduce myself at first until I sort of like, that's my alias until I feel like I'll be around for a while.
Well, that means a lot to all the planners then if you told us your real name, so thank you. So tell me all about you, how you got your start, Half Light Events. And I want you to talk about what your full-time job is as well. So let's dive into that.
So, tell you about me.
Wherever you'd like to start.
I am from Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. That's important to me. I was born here and grew up here. I left for about 10 years and did the classic Pittsburgh thing and came back eventually, and now I'm here forever.
Where were you for that 10 years?
All over. I was in California for a bit, and then New York City. I lived in the Caribbean for a while. And
wow.
I've been a lot of places, but this is my favorite place. So, I'm back here. I came back here. I did college and medical school and residency in other places. Well, residency I did in Pittsburgh, so I came back for training, and I've been here since then. So I am still a practicing physician, and I'm a geriatrician, so I see older adults who are admitted to the hospital.
Okay.
And I specialize in dementia and confusion and end of life and things that are not always the happiest things to talk about. It can be pretty draining, but also very meaningful and powerful, and I make a lot of connections with families, and I love it.
Good.
And I'm also a creative person.
Yes.
Who I just felt like I wasn't really able to express my creative self with just medicine.
Yeah.
So
you had this aha moment. Yeah. I need to do something else.
It was sort of years in the making.
Okay.
I used to, my aunt, who is more like my sister, my mom's younger sister, who was closer to me in age than my mom. So we grew up like sisters. She grew up like a couple of minutes from me in Murraysville. And she was just my person.
Yeah.
And we both were kind of really, we love parties, we love planning things, we love details, and we'd go to family events and then like talk about every single thing that like we would have done differently or that we loved. And it was always sort of a dream to have an event planning company together. And then she moved to LA, like, I don't know, a couple years ago. And then our big plan was to do a bi-coastal event planning company where she was a powerhouse businesswoman. She knew her stuff, and she was going to take care of like the business part of the business, and I was going to be sort of the creative lead. So she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer at age 40.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
When she was giving birth to her youngest son, who is 6. And so we had 6 years after her diagnosis that were tough. But if you knew her, you would never know it, because she was just such a bright, light energy, like that. She was just a ball of energy. And literally one time I visited her in the hospital, and she was really sick at this time. This was just a couple months before she passed away this February. We had a long discussion about just doing it and starting this event planning company. And we talked it all out, and I'm so thankful that we did. We had hours to sort of think about, like, what's our business plan going to be? What's our vision? She walked me through how she would, price different options. And I went back to her. This was in LA. I went back to her house that night. It was probably like 11:30, and I got this email from her that was like, recap of today's meeting. I'm like, you are in the hospital. And it's just it was so her. It was not at all surprising. And it just, like, I'm just so glad that we did it. We didn't get to the point where we actually got to execute an event together. But I feel like, and she told me before she died, like, I'm going to be there at every event. And she said, if I move a chair, leave it there. Because I did that on purpose.
You'll look over to chairs just over there.
Yep.
You'll know it's her aunt.
So I do feel like this is just
100%
something that we're doing together.
100%. So tell me the meaning behind Half Light.
Yeah, so Half Light means twilight. My aunt, her name is Sandhya, and that name means evening, so it was sort of named after her. It was named after her. I wanted to pick something. Even that was I told her, and I thought it would be like a really heartfelt moment, and she's like, okay, I like that. Let's brainstorm some other options. She came around. Yeah. But very much her until the end. So yeah, it's named after my aunt.
Well, that is very special. And I do think she's with you every day with everything that you're doing. So you said you're a doctor, you're a practicing physician, which is amazing. So I just already feel like stupid sitting next to you. Like, I literally, I'm just like, but you're a wedding planner like me, so we can relate. We can relate. And you are first generation American to 2 Indian immigrant parents. Yes. So you have the culture behind you that I think the Hindu and Indian community needs in Pittsburgh. You're authentic. You know what the heck you're doing, what you're talking about. You're in the space. So I think that's really, really important. So I want you to kind of talk about, I started to kind of say, that's my own personal opinion, but to couples that are looking for a wedding planner that knows South Asian culture.
Yeah.
Why you?
That's a great question, I think. And that's not to say that people have to be of the same culture to plan an event or participate in an event of a certain culture. I think it's great when people want to learn, and that's not a problem. But I will say that with South Asian families in particular, weddings are sort of the event of a lifetime, especially for a lot of us who are first generation American. We have immigrant parents who weddings are seen as a little bit different in that, like, the wedding is oftentimes thought of for the parents. But our generation, of course, doesn't feel that way. We feel, we found our own partners. We're in love. We want to celebrate that love with our friends and family. And I got married in Pittsburgh 7 years ago, and my husband is not Indian, so, and I think a lot of the weddings that I go to these days, even if both of the people who are getting married are Indian or one isn't, there's definitely just there's an understanding of how to interact with family, how everything is going to go, sort of just like you have to understand the culture, and it's just part of me. And I don't have to think too much about how the dynamic, family dynamics are a big piece of it. And as a couple getting married, that can be a lot of stress. And you want someone to just kind of know. You don't want to explain, this is how it works. I just, and like, that's pretty specific to my culture. I'm Indian. I'm South Indian. My family's South Indian. Okay. I'm Hindu. But I also have made it a point to learn about other South Asian cultures. Sort of, there's so many similarities and so many differences, and it's not all the same. But a lot of it kind of carries through. Even other, just being, I mean, my husband, like I said, he is also a first generation American, and he's South American. His family's from Ecuador. And so many things, just having immigrant parents, really, there's just a lot of similarities. So yeah, I think not even just for South Asian couples, but multicultural couples, couples with, interesting, if they're family dynamics or just anything. I think I get it. And I want to be that liaison between what the couple wants and what the family might want. And especially in our culture, it's parents are often paying for the weddings. So it is, like you want to honor everybody involved. And that's sometimes it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different dynamic.
It is different. And I think understanding that and, that's okay. That is different too. And I had a fusion wedding. It was like partially Western and then partially South Asian. And I was super, super, super gracious to this couple for, accepting me to be their planner. It was day of coordination essentially. But when they hired me, like they obviously asked on the call, have you done this before? I said, I haven't, but I'm here for you. I'm excited to learn. I want to learn. My culture is like, I always say like annoyingly white. Like I hate that it's like so Polish and Czech, and it's like, dude, give me a little bit of like flavor. So I grew up in Pittsburgh my whole life, and I'm very transparent about that. So understanding the differences, I think, is a good thing, but also that benefit, I think that's great for couples to even understand that. Why? Well, that's why. But for my couple that I did work for and help, again, so gracious. We had such a great day. It was so much fun. There were a lot of learning curves for me. But again, they just graciously were fine with that, and they taught me throughout the way, and it was fun. I mean, we had such a good time. It was so usually a lot of fun. I'm loving this.
Sometimes chaotic, but definitely fun.
It was so much fun. And there's a lot. So talk about the cultural differences just on a wedding day itself and what could be involved in a South Asian wedding.
Yeah. So I would say the first difference is that it's not just a wedding day. It's usually at least 2, if not 3, 4 days. There's usually several pre-wedding events. It's a whole. It just depends on the culture of the people who are getting married, but in general, most South Asian weddings end up being about 2 to 3 days. Lately, I've noticed that couples, especially if they're doing like a fusion type of wedding, will sort of shorten things. But usually there's a couple different elements involved, which is really fun.
Talk about a few of those.
Yeah,
so where would it start then if we're on Wednesday? It's Wednesday. You're getting the wedding, should I say, is Saturday.
Okay, so Wednesday, typically, we might be at an event called a mehndi. So, it's also called henna. That's when the bride and, the close friends and family might be getting their henna done. So henna is natural. It dries, and it takes a couple days to fully darken. And it's sort of like a superstitious thing, like how dark your henna is on your wedding day is like, there's a bunch of different silly things. Like I think I've heard like, if the darker it is, the better your mother-in-law will treat you. I'm like, okay.
I hope it's super dark.
Or some of them are more normal, like your husband will love you, or what? I don't know. Or it just like looks pretty.
It looks beautiful.
Dark. Yeah. So that's usually there's like a fun event around that. It's kind of like a colorful thing with the bride will have her henna done while people will sing and dance and eat, and there's a lot of singing and dancing and eating at all of the events. And then other typical pre-wedding events, there is an event where you put turmeric on the couple. It's either done together when the couple is both there, or separately. And that's sort of like, it's supposed to be auspicious. It's supposed to be like purifying. It's kind of like a spa day and it's just like, it makes for really cute pictures. It's fun. It's like, and I think it's interesting because across all of these different cultures, they'll do the same types of things, but they have a different meaning or a different name. And
that's
it's
what
like
I was learning.
Slightly different. So it's kind of hard to say like what, and I feel like a lot of people my age especially, or if you ask them like, why do you do this? You'll be like, I don't know.
I just know
this is what we do, and it's fun. And like there's on the actual wedding day, there's a tradition where like the bride's family steals the groom's shoes.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you have to hide the shoes and then bribe the groom to buy them back. I could not tell you why is that a thing? I don't know. But it's fun. It's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. Needless to say, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Which is super fun.
Yes.
But a couple that is getting married and having all of these events, why it's important to have a planner, much like yourself. So obviously planning it, that's overwhelming. I mean, think about planning one day. Now you're planning 2, 3, 4. But what other vendors I think don't always realize is that they're busy. Yeah. The couple is busy for days, literally days. Yes. So a last minute thing because you didn't do your due diligence and read it earlier, and then you're bothering the couple on Wednesday or Thursday of, your, so to speak, wedding week when you're still working up to the wedding day. But for them, no, they're already in it.
Yep. And they can't.
No, they're busy.
Things need to be done early.
Yeah, early. Yeah. It takes hours to get the henna done. It takes time to dry. Yeah. You can't use your hands. So a bride can't be on her phone texting you back because you forgot to do something, or whatever.
And even the wedding day, like the timing is just different. It's different than what most people might be used to. Usually their ceremonies, like Hindu ceremonies, are usually early in the morning. They might do a barath, which is like the horse parade and fun. You have to know, you have to get permits to block the street. You have to have the police there. You have to make sure with the venue that it's okay to have a horse or whatever vehicle the groom might be using for the barath. That's early. There's usually multiple meals. It's not just the ceremony, cocktail hour, dinner. It's breakfast and then barath, and then you have the ceremony that lasts 2 hours. Then you have lunch, and then you have a short break, and then you're in the it's nonstop.
It's nonstop.
And as for a planner, even just the wedding day itself is like 2 weddings in one day.
It is.
And it is. Yeah. There really isn't downtime. You're starting the bridal party is starting to get ready 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. There's a lot with the jewelry and the hair, and it is it's intense.
It is intense. And it's funny because now, like, when I think about other couples or like other brides getting ready and they're like, I don't want to start at 6 a.m. I'm like, honey.
I know. I'm like, I have no sleep. I have to wake up at 2:30 and but I mean, but then again, if you don't want to, then you adjust and you do it differently.
Right. There is so much to go into it. So that's why hiring a planner is so important.
Yes.
Especially if, your plan is to go through every cultural aspect and multiple days.
Right.
You want that person in your corner that is going to answer the vendors that are bothering you when you're getting your henna done, for example.
Yeah.
And I keep using that because that's exactly what happened to my couple. She's like, Jade, I can't answer. So the groom's calling me and I'm like, why are they bothering you? She's like, I don't know. I felt awful.
Yeah, you need to have like the cousin who has the straw next to you feeding you while you're getting your
Oh my gosh, right? So let's talk about now we're to Saturday. So I know you talked about a little bit like about how long the ceremony can be, and then there's lunch, and then there's this.
Yeah.
You talked about the shoes. Talk about the Hindu ceremony itself. What are the different cultural aspects that are in that?
Yeah. So, we skipped my favorite part of the wedding, which is the Friday night event, the Sangeet. And I feel like that's a lot of people's favorite. That's like a fun, usually cocktail style event where friends and family will like practice choreographed dances and sing songs, and it's really for the couple. It gets everybody like in the mood to party. And it's funny because it's usually like late Friday and there's a bar and you're having fun, and then you wake up at the crack of dawn to start the ceremony. So so even within the Hindu ceremony, it is so dependent on not even just like the state in India, even like down to the village, it can be different. But there are things that sort of run across, all Hindu weddings. There's multiple parts. Usually it starts off with a prayer to Lord Ganesha, who sort of like clears the path of for any obstacles that might occur either during the wedding or the actual wedding and then the marriage. Then there is a piece where traditionally the father of the bride gives her away, which is kind of funny because in traditional older times in India, it literally was you were giving your daughter to this family and she would move in with them and might not ever see you. Wow. And now it's like, all right, I'm just going to be down the street. Like this doesn't, But so it's sweet. There's usually the bride sits on her father's lap and there's a kind of like she's given away. Then instead of a wedding ring, the traditional way of showing that you're married for a Hindu woman is called a Mangalsutra. It's a necklace that the groom ties on to the bride towards the end of the ceremony, and that is like symbolic for what you're not supposed to remove it. That's kind of like the alternate wedding ring. Okay. These days, people typically do both. There's so much. Then there's a part where the vows, the 7 steps. That's kind of like, and that's kind of my favorite part because it is really nice. The way the vows are sort of like, we'll be equals. We will protect each other. They're it's sweet. I really, it's kind of, in such an outdated ceremony, it's actually surprising how nice and progressive the vows are.
Right? Well, like, it's just like, I don't know. I just wish there was like more stuff that's, I don't know, there's like, I don't want to say there's nothing sentimental like in like a Western ceremony, but it's just like, what? I just wish there could be more. Yeah. Because there's just a lot of special things.
But if you especially like writing your own vows, like that typically isn't part of a Hindu ceremony, but like most weddings I've been to recently, you kind of mix and match and you can
what feels right to you.
Exactly.
So it doesn't have to be cookie cutter.
It definitely doesn't. And even like Hindu priests around here especially, they'll be like, it's like a menu, like which of these do you want to do and which do you want to cut out. If we did the full thing, it would be like 3 hours.
Yes.
And usually people get it done to about an hour. It's nice.
So let's say another wedding planner locally vibes with a couple, they have a consultation, they feel like it's the right fit, but that wedding planner feels a little bit overwhelmed, maybe taking on a fusion wedding or South Asian wedding fully, whatever the case is. Are you open to collaborating?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing that for a wedding next year, and it's been really fun. I think, yeah, absolutely. I think like sometimes just little, it's not even the planning.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, knowing kind of how things are supposed to go, what pieces you need, what questions to ask the venue. Like, for example, are we allowed to have an open flame when we do the ceremony? If you don't know to ask. And a lot of couples don't know. I mean, this might be their first and only wedding that they're planning. They might not know what to ask.
Yeah.
So things like that, definitely. I'm would be happy to work with other planners sort of like as a consultant,
that's great.
Working alongside them.
That's great. Or you're probably thinking you could just like fully refer the couple to me.
That too.
I mean, I'll just, I'll do that too. So one of the biggest things I wanted to talk to you about is understanding pricing and explaining why, obviously, if a couple wants to hire you for multiple days events, why you deserve a lot more. And Victoria and I touched on this very, very smallly, but we talked about different markets, different costs of living in different cities.
Big cities versus,
Yeah, so it's hard to kind of just say, you should charge this. Okay, well, Pittsburgh's considered, I mean, we're one of the more affordable cities, like, and I'll use the same example I use Victoria is, a house in Long Island is going to be way more. That same house will be cheaper here.
Yeah.
That same house will be even cheaper in Texas, they say, apparently. Right. So it's understanding that every city is different. Markets are markets for a reason. So that's one thing when it comes to pricing. However, in our market, full-scale planners, for the most part, there is a fairly good range, and this is a starting price. Be very clear on the fact that this is a starting price. We won't get into all that. But we'll say anywhere from $7,000 to like $12,000.
Right.
For one day. So if you're paying a planner for one day, $8,000 to $12,000 starting, so it goes up from there, why the starting price for a full South Asian celebration with multiple days should, in my opinion, be probably a lot more.
Right. I agree. I don't know that a lot of other people would agree, especially, I mean, it's tough, like you said, when there has sort of been a precedent set, it's hard to move the needle.
Yeah.
But that said, almost all wedding vendors have had to increase their prices over the past several years. I mean, not even just wedding vendors, everything. So, yeah, I think it makes sense. And I think just even the number of people who attend these weddings, it is a lot more managing. You're going to have a bigger team. You have to have a bigger team there.
Yeah.
You need to be able to pay, your assistants. You need to, there's just a lot more to coordinate. It's also, instead of working whatever, like a 16-hour day, you're going to be on for 40 hours. If you're doing the sangeet and the ceremony, you really aren't getting a break. There is no break. You're usually the sangeet event is just as elaborate. I mean, I would say more elaborate than many traditional Western high-end receptions. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of coordinating. So yeah, I think ideally that would be extrapolated to proposals for multiple multi-day events. I don't know that we're gonna be there quite yet, but at least, like you said, the starting full-scale planning, 7,000 and up. would be a minimum, I think, for a Friday and Saturday full day event.
Yeah. And that's just crazy because that's why it just like boggles my mind that there's other planners that are just doing an only Saturday and they're like, well, I start at $12,000. And it's just like, okay. So it just boggles my mind because I feel like, you know, you need more, you deserve a lot more. And I need people to understand that. I need people to understand the value of a wedding planner and the hours that go into planning a wedding, and then you want to ask Anita to do it for cheaper. Yeah. When she's doing way more than all of us.
And then we kind of talked about at the planner roundtable about how in bigger cities and in different markets they're doing percentage based.
Yes.
And if for an Indian wedding, if a mid-range, I would say actually probably low-end budget, the average budget for a South Asian wedding in this country is $250,000.
Yeah.
So if we're talking percentage, that's way, way more than what we're, saying should be the starting price. Yeah. So I think putting it into perspective, and then I guess I part of it is that I think in the Western wedding community here in Pittsburgh, there are planners who are younger, kind of understand social media, understand trends, and doing things a little bit differently, sourcing styles and vendors and things for the wedding from other places. And I would say that right now in Pittsburgh, I'm the only one doing that. So it is tough. It is different.
Yes.
And there's, like I said, everybody is not the right planner for every couple.
Yes.
And if you're looking for a traditional wedding, similar to what's been done before, similar to, what you've been to, I'm probably not the planner for you.
Nope.
But if you're looking for more of a fusion, not even fusion, just like an Indian wedding of today.
Yes. It's 2024. Yeah. Okay, let's
I love
today
thinking
entails.
out of the box. I love thinking about details. I love doing things that people haven't done before. Yes. Or if it's something somebody has done before, let's do it a little bit differently.
Yes.
I don't really. A lot of people have asked me, like, who do you use for this? Who do you use for this? I love the idea of not having, I want to work with lots of different people to make whatever my couple's vision is their reality. And of course, once you have worked with people and trust, you're going to say, okay, this is a good fit. Yep. But I don't really like the idea of saying, like, if you work with me, this is what it's going to look like. This is so
I agree.
Yeah. Because there's so much talent. And every couple is different. Everybody has different taste, different style. I love design. And I really, that's like my favorite part of it. Planning. I'm type A. I'm a doctor. I'm type A, of course.
Yeah.
We all are. Like, I got that. But I love the design aspect. And I feel like there's just so much that we aren't doing that I'm seeing in other places that I think we can do here.
Yep.
So right now, a lot of South Asian couples who are looking for that type of wedding, for that look, that modern look, they're looking out of Pittsburgh. Yes. And they don't need to.
Yes.
We're all right here. And we don't need to be bringing in people. We have
from Philly,
phenomenal florists here.
Yep.
We have phenomenal We have, there's everything. We have the linens. You don't have to be bringing, trucks full of people who you're then paying to put up in hotels for your 3 nights. Yes, maybe their Instagram has all South Asian weddings of that, that's the look that you're going for. But we can make that happen. We
100%.
just need to, that's what I'm here for. Yes. I'll help you find the people who will make that happen. And we don't need to, if you're going to spend that much money, you might as well spend it locally and maximize what you're able to do with that budget here.
100%. When I have couples, I've had like a few Deep Creek couples, which is not far. It's only 2 hours, right? But you're still obviously paying for accommodations for people.
Of course.
But I'm the same. It's like, why can't you, like, you're going to pay accommodations. You're going to pay for traveling. You're going to pay to,
I think people aren't realizing, I mean, especially if you don't have a planner, there's no, you're contacting these people and then realizing afterwards when you're signing the contract, like, it adds up.
Yes.
It really adds up.
Yes. Multiple hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a lot. I mean, if you have a huge floral install, you're talking like 12, 15 people who are coming from New York, New Jersey to start and like to flip. I mean, I'm just, it blows my mind. And and it's, you know, like I did that for my wedding. Yeah. And it was, to this day, I'm still like, I wish I had me to tell me, like, I didn't have to do that. And just like knowing, you know, I feel like Instagram wasn't as big, and you know, you just look online and you search like Indian wedding, and then like things come up. But yeah, knowing how to find people to make your look happen is really important. Yeah. And as a couple, you don't want to spend all your time doing that. No. It's stressful. So just, I guess that's the bit, like, I'll do it. I will find your people. And I feel like I've met so many people. I'm like, oh, this would be perfect for this. And we're all here, right here in the city. So yeah, that's...
You know how to use your resources in Pittsburgh. But Pittsburgh has so much to offer, and that's what's crazy. Like,
and it's hidden. I feel like it's hidden. Just because we're not marketing to certain demographics. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why you're here.
Yes.
And that's why I think it's so important to talk to you. You did a really wonderful styled shoot.
Thank you. That was super fun.
Anita, it was stunning. And I thought to myself, how the fuck does not more people know about Half-Life events?
Well, that was kind of the first thing I've ever... It was sort of like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go all in, because I know exactly the look that for that shoot, I knew exactly what I wanted to go for. And that sort of, I mean, everyone... involved in that shoot, really, really amazing, talented vendors that still I'm like, I can't believe that they collaborated with me. But that's what they created. And if that's what you're looking for, I mean, everybody I worked with was super into the idea of doing a South Asian wedding shoot. We just need to be reaching out to them, and they can make it happen, and beautifully.
And I think too, obviously it starts with you, right? It starts with hiring Anita. But don't shy away from other florists that, like you said, haven't done it before, because...
And maybe they have done it before, and it's just not on their grid or whatever, because people aren't reaching out. Like,
photographers won't give their photos up, whatever the case is. That's another conversation.
Yeah, just, I mean, they may have, and they just may have not marketed it that way.
Or it's hidden in the feed, or you don't see it.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so much beauty in this area. It's crazy. And you did an event last month, which was so cute. I'm like so obsessed with it. But the point is, you having these modern, outside the box ideas. Like, we showed up. And when I walked in the door, there was a fairy.
That's my favorite thing, is to have guests have that experience. I love watching that. Even for my client, I love it. A guest experience it's so fun to watch people be surprised and like,
it was brilliant.
Yeah, you just, I love it. So yeah, I mean, yes, I love Indian weddings. I can make the Indian wedding of your dreams happen, but I love parties. I love parties. I love any type of event that is experiential and fun and different. And yeah, that's what keeps me going. I
mean, if a fairy can give me a lavender
scented towel
every time.
Did you feel instantly relaxed?
It was perfect. It was perfect. And then I walked down and got champagne. There's another fairy. I mean, it's spectacular. And that's the point. You have these out of the box ideas. you have a modern style to bring to this space. There's room for it. I feel like the space needs it. So I appreciate you coming on the podcast and expressing that. Because I just think what you're doing is really great. And I think more people need to know that. And I genuinely wish I like could fully put myself, like, and immerse myself into the South Asian space and feel so confident about it because it's just spectacular. But I'm not yet. So that's why you need to hire Half-Light Events. Yes. That's the point I'm trying to make. Anita, Half-Light Events, halflightevents.com. You're great. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. This was super fun.
And have fun, I guess, going back to work.
Yeah.
Being a physician, because she's that smart, everyone, okay? But thank you, seriously.
Thank you.